Hello, everybody. This is the NBA Tournament Strategy Show. It's November 21st, Monday, start of the week. I've been a little bit too invested in the NFL from yesterday and all that stuff. But for those of you that don't know, I'm Bob226, aka Josiah. Today, we're going to look at this slate, dig through the details, talk about who we like, who we don't like, and just make sure that we have an overall good walkthrough of this slate and also point out some potential tournament strategy spots as well. Later today on the pre-lock show, we will walk through what we're actually doing, who we're boosting, who we're increasing, and you'll be able to see what I'm actually doing on this slate as well. For those of you that don't know, to be able to watch the pre-lock show, click the link in the description, become a VIP member, and then in the Discord, I always post when I'm going live for that show. Also, you can feel free to use the promo code BOB for a 10% discount. All right, now that we're done with that, I've been a little bit all over the place today. The Zach Wilson drama has really had my attention. I'm so excited to see what they do with that. Also, the Ben Simmons. You guys, those of you who played NBA DFS yesterday, I hope y'all were on Ben Simmons. My guy, Upper Slad, who is going to be on the pre-lock show later today, had Ben Simmons as a core, and he smashed. I love when that happens. I don't know if I'm playing Ben Simmons tomorrow, but just the entire situation, him going back to Philadelphia after his best game of the season, is interesting, and it's tempting. But anyway, let's talk about today's slate. That's what everyone cares about. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate everyone for showing up and being here. Really do appreciate you guys. Let's start with this first game. We'll look at the Atlanta Hawks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Cleveland Cavaliers are one of the best defenses in the league. So not a team I love to attack, but we all know Trae Young and DeJounte Murray have ceiling for days, and they're definitely like your tournament guys that you can get access to as well. They'll be in my player pool. I'm not sure how much exposure I'll get to them, but they're definitely the GPP pieces that you want from that game. Similar story on the Cleveland side. Everyone's healthy, and that's something that we're going to see trend in a lot of these games. The approach, at least as of right now, is looking like the balance build approach is going to be what could be most likely to be optimal. But if we get more injury news, it might be worth considering taking a little bit more risk and going studs and value plays. Outside of that, like you can definitely consider like Evan Mobley and Jared Allen, but none of these guys are in spots where you're like super excited to click on their name. Allen, he did struggle against Miami in that last game. This is a easier matchup for him, so I'm not against going to Allen at the center position. He's probably the only guy who's kind of standing out at this point, but again, still not super exciting for me personally. But we'll see. That could change as I do more research throughout the day. But as of right now, I'm not super excited about these spots. The Pacers against the Magic, I feel like we see this matchup all the time. I feel like I'm always talking about it, but maybe I'm just crazy. Paolo Banchero, he's going to be out. Still, he's been out for a while. Wendell Carter Jr. is questionable. This is a situation that it definitely matters, and it does impact on how we're going to treat this slate. But at this point, we've seen it enough. Everyone's priced well, where even if Carter's out, it doesn't change a ton outside of, hey, I want to have more exposure to Bobo, and hey, I want to have more exposure to the guys we've been playing with Wendell Carter out this whole time, like Franz Wagner and Chuma Okeke. That's kind of how I'm treating that situation. As of right now, though, once again, no one really stands out. I'm going to let the DS really handle this situation for me if nothing too crazy really happens. The one guy that I am going to make sure I'm at least getting exposure to if I happen to not have enough when I do my initial run is going to be Tyrese Halliburton. He absolutely smashed the other on Saturday. I didn't play DFS on Saturday, but I remember he was questionable and everyone was freaking out a little bit. They're like, should we play him? Should we play him? And a lot of people didn't, but the ones who did, they definitely felt the benefits of doing that. Tyrese Halliburton has ceiling for days, and I definitely like attacking spots like this. I prefer to play studs like Tyrese Halliburton over guys like Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, just because Tyrese Halliburton is the main usage guy on this team, and so it's just safer for me. That's why I always say, like, I'm more excited to play guys like Halliburton who have that ceiling, just like Trae Young and DeJounte Murray do, but it's a slightly safer ceiling. Nice. Okay. Lock for you. I'm not a big lock guy. I know a lot of people love to do it, but it's never been my forte. But hey, I'm here for it. Like, hopefully he smashes for you. I like him, so let's make it happen. All right, moving on, we have the Celtics against the Bulls. Again, this is a nice game because the total is one of the higher ones on the slate. So we're hoping that the points will be there, and we're hoping those points come from the studs, because that's what should happen here. When it comes to this team, we know when it comes to both of these teams, we know who the guys are on these teams. It's Zach LaVine, Nikola Vucevic, and DeMar DeRozan. LaVine and Vucevic are slightly cheaper, so that's where most people will lean, and they also have slightly easier matchups. So it makes sense to prioritize them over DeMar for me at this point. But I do think DeMar is still a viable GPP play, because most people are going to play Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic, and less people are going to have DeMar DeRozan. So those are the type of things that we need to talk about. On the other side of it, I think Tatum and Brown are definitely worth considering. Tatum is super expensive, which is still mind-blowing for me at this point, just because I just remember back when he used to be like so much lower, but he's worth it at this point. He's proved it time and time again that he is worth paying up for. So he's another GPP target guy that you can consider, along with Jaylen Brown. Again, like I mentioned, with like the Trae Young and DeJounte Murray situation, slightly prefer people like Tyrese Halliburton, because Halliburton is the guy on his team, whereas when it comes to Tatum and Brown, it's just more of like a flyer coin flip of who's going to be the guy that day. But again, they're both going to be in my player pools, or all of those guys are still going to be in my player pool, so I'm definitely planning on still having some exposure to them. All right, now when it comes to the Knicks at Thunder, all right, guys, give me one break. I'll be back in probably like 2 to 5 minutes. Sorry about that, guys. Had some work going on. Had to fix that really quickly, but we are back. All right. When it comes to the OKC side of things, our guy Paku is out, which means we can definitely target the Jeremiah Robinson Earls, the Kenrich Williams, the Jalen Williams. All those guys are in play here. All right. You can also consider SGA. SGA has been on fire this season, and this is a pretty... the Knicks have a decent defense, but you can definitely still attack them at the point guard position, so no worries there. RJ Barrett is popping, and he's probably going to be popular. I'm always okay with playing Barrett in softer matchups. This is a softer matchup for him, so I'm okay with it. And then Giddey, he also has a ton of upside as well. I'm not on Randall as much, but he is going to be low owned, so I'm totally fine with like a GPP high upside play from that standpoint. Mitchell Robinson is coming back, or he's probable, so he should come back. He's returning from a knee injury. I'm not super excited about playing big men returning from knee injuries, so I'm not going there. Wouldn't really recommend other people going there. But if you think he's healthier and he's going to see his normal minutes, then could be worth a flyer. All right. All right. Now we have the Golden State Warriors against the Pelicans. It looks like this is a back-to-back for them. Klay Thompson went off last night. It looks like he probably won't play tonight, which means we have more interest in guys like Jordan Poole, which means we can actually consider playing him again. And of course, Steph Curry's always in play. I'm never going to, at this point, tell anyone not to play him. He's been an absolute monster this season. And if he can go off in this matchup, which is a tougher matchup against the Pelicans, he's definitely in the MVP talk. So not my favorite play because of the matchup. Less likely that he goes off in this situation, but Curry's special, man. Hard to argue off of him. Zion should return in this game as well, which does make me less interested in this team in general. But this is a nice matchup for them. So I will try to dig deeper and figure out who I think has the best matchup and go from there. I'll probably like CJ McCollum, though. I had to make a pretty good educated guess. You can also play bigs against the Golden State Warriors. So you can try to play Valanciunas here. His minutes aren't secure, though. And I don't know if they're going to need him in this spot. I would consider having a little bit of exposure to Zion here as well for the same reason, like given the matchup. It's soft and easy for him. The Bucks are a really good defensive team, and the Trailblazers will be without Damian Lillard here, which will open up a lot of minutes, but this is a very, 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 very tough matchup. So the odds of this becoming a blowout are relatively high. I don't like to play predicting blowouts, but it's definitely another alternative tournament strategy you can utilize when thinking about the slate and guys you want to keep in your player pool or guys you want to boost. Giannis is going to be less popular today because of that blowout narrative. This is a fantastic matchup for him. So if you think this game stays close, I don't think it's a bad idea to like pair Giannis with like a Simons or a Grant, because there's a few different ways it could play out in theory, actually. Like Giannis could go off and no one else does, then he doesn't play in the fourth, and then he doesn't really pay off. But ideally, this game stays close and Giannis is dominating, but someone else on the other side is keeping it up there with him. The spread says that's not going to be the story. Is more likely a guy like Giannis goes off and doesn't play the fourth. But if you're playing a GPP, you would love to play Giannis at super low ownership, and the game does stay close, and you're pairing him with a guy like Simons or Grant or even Hart. And Simons has had a 32.7% usage rate without Damian Lillard, so I'm always open to playing Simons, and so that's probably going to be the matchup or pairing that I utilize, actually. But like I said, this is a game that's relatively safe to avoid in cash. It's more of a GPP target for me. All right. On the Minnesota Timberwolves side and Miami Heat game, we're going to be without Jimmy Butler, but it looks like Tyler Hero might come back. He's questionable as of right now. I think it's safe to play Tyler Hero returning here. If he does play, I would not have any hesitation, really. The Timberwolves have been okay, like not a team that I've been excited to play or even attack really, but I feel like Cat has been okay. I know he didn't have the best game on Saturday. Edwards has had his ceiling performances similar to some of the other teams. There's a lot of ceiling guys here, but the matchup itself, I'm not very excited about. So I'm just gonna have to a situation I want to dig deeper into because I know people are on guys like Cat and Rudy Gobert, and I need to do a little bit more research on if I'm going to follow that trend as well. Outside of that, on the Miami Heat side, if Hero's out, I'm more open to playing a guy like Lowry, but with him in, less excited about it. Similar story with Bam, but we'll see. All right, last game on the slate. We have the Utah Jazz against the Clippers. It looks like Mike Conley will miss this game, which means we can go right back to Malik Beasley, and we can go right back to playing and being open to playing guys like Colin Sexton again. I'm totally fine with Jordan Clarkson here as well. A good amount of upside there as well. I would love if the ownership was a little bit lower, but it is not. Lauri Markkanen doesn't make me super excited in this spot, but we've seen his ceiling production this year. It's definitely viable to keep him in your player pool. Ivica Zubac is always kind of like the forgotten guy, but he's had a lot of really good performances. Looks like at least at first glance, this could be a solid matchup for him. So I definitely want to dig deeper into like his story and how this matchup could go as well, because he could be a little bit sneaky. Reggie Jackson, I feel like we know when to play him. Ish. We get it right, like 50-50. But we know the spots, and this doesn't feel like one of those with John Wall and Paul George and everybody else here. So yeah. Outside of that, I do think it's important to go back to this Thunder game. There's going to be a lot of value here of Poku out, and I do think you're going to want exposure to a few of these guys because we've seen the Thunder get really weird with their rotations. And so I think Earl Robinson is definitely in a more beneficial spot. Kenrich Williams is definitely in a more beneficial spot. But I'm going to want exposure to both of them and not just one or the other. But all right, guys, that is this slate in a nutshell. Thank you for sticking with me through all of the craziness. I look forward to seeing everyone on the pre-lock show so we can lock down this slate and take down some tournaments. I look forward to seeing you guys then. Peace.